year. And to the guests over the year, it's just 9 o'clock. And of course, he's a man of, he believes in time, man. He's very time conscious. Let's welcome him. Welcome, Mr. Campaign Chair. Good morning. Campaign Spokesman, rather. Good morning.
Good morning, Sorbor.
How you doing?
I'm very excellent this morning. I'm in a very upbeat mood.
I know. Congratulations, in a way.
Thank you very much.
When I heard that, I said, wow. I mean, the Weah intellectual movement is moving.
Well, I don't think it's beyond the Weah intellectual movement. Of course, there are kudos to the Weah intellectual movement. There are a lot of other very serious auxiliaries that are doing great work for the re-election of the president. It's important for all of us to adopt the approach that is a collective effort.
Good. Now, let's begin with you, Mr. Kanio Gbala. Basically, we'll be talking about the message. We'll be talking about how solid. We'll be talking about how attractive debate to give President Weah a second term mandate, how that bid will be, that request, how you're going to flower that request to our people. But first, let's begin with you. We remember there was this program, because we want to clarify on the few things first. There was this program for the thanking of this president, that program you started. Thank you, Mr. President, wherever it is. And we saw the mammoth crowd. We saw the huge turn up, let me put it that way, to the extent that, party officials were using loudspeakers to discourage their partisans from, coming further because the headquarters was jam-packed. How much preparation that you all put into that program for which that huge turn-up was killed?
Well, thank you very much again, Sorbor. And I think that there cannot be a better place to commence this conversation than by unpacking why that thank you program was necessary and what level of preparation, if you may, went into the organization of that program. It will interest you to note, Sorbor, that at the close of that program, there were many of what I term as these noisy detractors who sought to take away from the valuable message that have been conveyed by the thank you program. And so what we will seek to point out right now is to begin to look at the thank you program from another dimension. Someone remarked to me, a close friend of mine who's been around for quite a while, and he said, who converged on the party of the headquarters rather of the mighty coalition for democratic change, he had not seen since almost 2005. And you may recall 2005 at the time, CDC was at the strongest in Monserrado, and there were multitudes of people at any point in time that will converge to celebrate the party, to work for the party. And he said that this thank you program was reminiscent of those days. Now, why? Look, there was obviously serious coordination put into organizing this. And in terms of that, you must give a hats off to the chairman of the party, in President Honorable Mobake Molu, who does a very excellent job of coordinating the different organs of the party and reaching out to the communities, to the districts, giving partisans hope, spreading the message of development under President Weah, energizing the party base. Another thing that has happened is the burgeoning of different auxiliaries. Liberians have come to the conclusion that there was a lot of weaponized messaging, false messaging, fake news people had construed in the early days of Dr. Weah's presidency. And therefore, they created a lot of malice and ill will that was founded on lies against the president. Now, the true message of development is going out there. The true message of development begins to resonate with the people. And that's why they're coming out in their numbers to say thank you. When you look around, for example, you point out the Weah intellectual movement, of course, which I'm an integral part with Honorable Boyka Fofana, who chairs the
one of the key propagandists
exactly of that movement. That's an auxiliary that is entrenched within the party, because I'm a member of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change. But there are a multiplicity of other actors within the Weah intellectual movement that are not CDCians. but they support the president's re-election. And if you look at the proliferation of auxiliaries that are out there, there are groups called Pakus for Weah. They are not necessarily CDCians. They are Weah.
I just saw this. They sound kind of for Weah as well. Another group.
Manatians. And these are people who just support the president and his development agenda. So when you saw the headquarters of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change inundated by people, such that people who were emceeing the program had to say, look, stay home. It could become a catastrophe. I was on the stage because I was destined to make a statement recounting the successes of the president. But we couldn't do that because we had to abbreviate the program because it was becoming a health crisis.
Now, your critics are saying that, and since the program, they were running with this information, or this, that you gave those individuals, each of them, some $20 to get them on the field.
That is interesting, to put it mildly, and preposterous to put it at its worst. To think that to enlist their support by giving them 20 US. The second thing it does is that not only the enormity of the law, is that it assumes that the Liberian people are chattel. And it is that mentality that a lot of these so-called politicians have adopted time and time again, that Joshua will continue to beat them time and time again. That mentality to think that people are stupid and they can just be manipulated for pecuniary gains, financial gains, that people got nothing to do. All of the thousands of young people who came out, thousands of elderly people who came out, from all
how did you convince them? How did you convince them?
US and come and sit and sit.
How did you convince those thousands of individuals? Like we said, it was a mammoth crowd, mammoth show up. How did you convince them to attend that thank you program?
The truth of the matter is we merely coordinated and gave messaging. The convincing was done by the development of His Excellency Dr. George Weah. I give you the example by his policies. For example, when you see a majority of young people trooping to the president in the form of auxiliaries, for example, the daughters of Weah, you have the different chapters of the Weah intellectual movement at the universities. They're not coming there because there is money to be gotten. They're coming there because these are people in the last 2-3 years who graduated high school. They remember that the president's policies around free waxy fees affected their life. That's a direct effect on the lives of young people. For example, students at university who are coming there, they're coming there because now that they have free tuition admission in all public institutions across this country. That's a direct effect of the policy of the president. When you take young people and older alike who flock to the Invisible Park day after day, thousands of people, and they celebrate that kind of development, they're not coming there for anything else other than the fact that the policies of the president affect their lives. People moving from down Markibi coming to say thank you because there is now a 14 military. They don't have to travel from there to come to GFK, which is the major referral hospital. People living from other places now going to Bapolu instead of coming to town to Redemption Hospital. The policies of this president has affected people en masse across the 15 counties. So when you campaign for this president, we're always reminding the people of what the president has done. And that's what brought people out. Just the message.
So what do we expect come the 5th of August when we're going to hear about the launch of campaign?
Well, we will do a launch, right? And again, let me speak. We've been having this conversation with the national campaign manager or chairperson, whichever you may call it, insofar as the semantics, because Honorable Len Yunjin Namwe, who is the person charged by the president to lead this effort of a first round victory. He has said that, look, we will win on the first ballot, and we'll win
on the first ballot.
Will be granular, ground level engagement in Monserrate and in every other county. We'll engage the auxiliaries. We'll talk to our friends. We'll also talk to our enemies. We'll talk to people who are in the middle of the aisle. We will try to build the biggest mass-based political movement for this campaign that will lead to the president's election.
Now, winning on the first ballot, it's something, I'm sure it's just not easy to say, but to do, for that to come into reality, Mr. Spokesperson, what could be the strategy that you're going to employ?
Well, you see, for us, it's not the talking, it is the doing. And I've said to people before, President Weah has made our work so easy. In the early days of this government, people came out and used propaganda to badmouth, to besmirch, to lie on the president. And in many ways, a lot of Liberians were angry. For example, if you are a poor, struggling Liberian, and the president is struggling to build roads all over this country, has built more roads in 6 years than ever built in 12 years under the failed ruling Unity Party. That's what he's struggling to do. He's negotiating agreements, he's raising money, and then somebody comes out of the blue and says 16 billion got missing, and the president and people in government stole that money. How will you feel? You will be necessarily angry. It is on the back of those lies that they want elections in this country. But it's becoming apparent because the president sat down and said, no, nobody is going to lie on me. I'm a celebrated philanthropist. I've been around the world. I've made money. I don't need to steal from the Liberian people. So he invited international people to come here and to clarify. And that thing has been clarified. But are they coming now to tell the people that no 16 million got missing again? They will not come here. But because they perfected the law and they wanted to remain. But we'll get rid of that law. And that is what.
So your strategy is to get rid of lies against the administration, or what are you going to do to convince the Liberian people for a second season mandate?
The political dynamics of this country shows that CDC is the biggest political institution. Followed by CDC is a block of people who are undecided, followed by all of the other mushroom political parties that exist. The data is there, right? We are building, like I said, a strong mass-based political movement beyond the CDC. Because President Weah is somebody who relates to people, not just in this party, everywhere, outside of this country. Yeah, whether you support CDC or not, President Weah relates to people. And because we are merely communicating what he has done. Let me give you, for example, when somebody was saying, okay, the crowd came up, but how many people were there, and can that crowd win an election? I said, look, the crowd came out to say thank you. But the policies of the president will win these elections everywhere. For example, take Nimba, which people think is going to be contested. Yes, we agree there might be some contestation, but the young first-time voters in Nimba are beneficiaries of the president's free waxing fees. They've received it for the last 6 years. $20 million this president spent on students who were graduating in Nimba. Has any other president or politician done that before? Never before. No, development has no ethnicity. And President Weah has made it clear. He's done that. The Nimba County Community College, that is free today, free tuition today. When students are going there, getting education, you think they care about ethnicity? They know it is the first time in the history of this country for this to ever happen. And that's how they're going to vote President Weah. They may vote their local leaders, but at the presidential level, if you take other candidates and you take President Weah, no candidate has the political CV in terms of development that President Weah has.
Okay, so Mr. Spokesman, let's try to get into the nitty-gritty, the specifics of our discussion. I want you to just address or respond to some of the speculations and innuendos being spewed by some of your folks. Now, you came to power, the president I'm making reference to. On what basis? What was the promises made that convinced the Liberian people that, look, this is what I'm going to do, and when you make me president or you elect me, I'm going to do. What was the promise that you came on you assumed the leadership with?
Well, if you recall, the slogan or the mantra of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. George Weah was change for hope at the time. But if you isolate that particular phrase, the key word there is what? Change. President Weah promised change in this country.
Okay.
Change in transformation.
So he was elected based on a platform of change.
Yes, he said that. And that is what he did. And if you ask me, President Weah has delivered over 90%.
We'll be talking about the changes that he made. Well, don't worry. We'll go into that.
Exactly.
But I was trying to ask first, on what platform was he elected? On the platform of change.
Exactly.
Now,
the platform.
Surely. Now, let's look at, I know you're an economist, but I know you've been following because you've been part of the administration from the onset till now. Tell us about some of the changes made in the economy, if you can just make us recollect.
All right. What I would do in terms of articulating the changes in the economy is to deal with what I call the technical macro level issues, right? And then we can look at the actuality, meaning we can point out some examples on how these things have changed. For example, people don't like us to talk about this because it angers them. And it knows that they know rather that when the ordinary people, yet how things have changed and changed for the better under President Weah, they're not going to listen to them and all that pie in the sky with your skyscrapers over the ocean lies that they want to tell the people. They're not going to listen to that. When President Weah inherited this country in terms of the economy, we were in the neck of COVID. As you know, COVID severely affected the world economy. In Liberia at the time, we were sliding into a recession at 3.5%. What that means is that businesses were stalling, we were struggling, and there was a lot of tension in the economy. We're moving into recession. The other thing we inherited in this country, and they don't want us to talk about it, but we will continue to talk about it because we are drawing a comparison of people who now want to return to power after 12 years and left this country in a very messy state, right? When we inherited this country in 2018, this country was broke. This country was broke. The central bank was undercapitalized. They have borrowed from the central bank until the central bank was working on crutches, financial crutches. That's what we inherited. We inherited a country that could not pay its debt. The debts were unsustainable. Let me make this clearer for the common man who's listening. What it means that if you're somebody who in a home, that means as a parent, you go, you credit, and you can't pay no more. That was the condition we made Liberia.
Okay.
I am proud, extremely proud, to say that today, under President Weah, we are not in recession anymore, but we are growing at 5%. We projected to go from 4.5% to like 5%. So in 6 years, we've increased growth in the economy, right? Beyond that, our central bank now, as rated by international partners, is no more broke as it was because we are practicing responsible central banking. We don't just go and credit money from the central bank anymore.
So the bank is operating independently now.
Independently. We're drawing money and because we want to pay things and we wish we don't play properly for. So the bank operates independently. We are servicing our debt burden like a responsible country is supposed to do. That's what we inherited. That's what exists now. Now let me give you some of the practical implications of these things. When people see that the price of rice in Liberia has remained at anywhere between $15, it started to go up. Let them do an analysis in the sub-region in light of the COVID crisis. Most of the countries in the sub-region, the price there for rice is far higher. Do you know how we're able to keep the price of rice down? Because President Weah introduced a stabilization fund that puts money directly into the hands of the importers of rice in this country. That's why the price is what it is. Otherwise, it will be more than double that. That's how you maintain the economy. It's kept inflation down. Liberians before we want to get examples of the best countries in Africa, we can say Ghana. Everybody in Ghana they do this, Ghana they do that. Let them go to Ghana today and witness the economic mess that is occurring in Ghana as we speak. Ghana has imploded. Little Liberia, I say it with due respect, not disparagingly, we stay very stable in the sub-region.
So our inflation rate is lower than that of Ghana?
It's manageable.
Is it lower than that of Ghana?
It's not a question of lower or higher. It's about a question at a rate which it can manage economic activity so that there's stability and a level of predictability in the market. And we've managed to do that here within the economy. So we've kept the rate at a certain level that makes economic activity to continue to blossom. We've introduced macro loans to most of the market women. Not only were we building markets, for example, when we were taking red light from red light and moving it to Ominga, we were taking Gbala from in the dike across the road and moving it into that new structure on the other side in Gbala. We were moving people from in the dike in rehab into proper structures. We're not only building structures, but investing in macro loan to market women who sell in that market. Go and ask them how conditions have improved. We're not saying that they're rich today, but we're saying that they're better off because change has come. So when you ask the question of the economy and how we're doing excellently well, comparatively speaking, in terms of this sub-region.
So when you listen to the ordinary man in the street, Mr. Campaign Spokesman, you've yes indeed explained how you are able to refix the economy, how your central bank is currently operating independently. Yes, we agree to that because when this government assumed the leadership, there was this issue of cash trap. You couldn't get your money from the bank so easily. Now, but the common man is saying How is that affecting their lives?
It is affecting their lives.
Putting bread on the table.
Let me tell you how it does that. And I can tell you how it does that in several ways. I would choose 2 or 3 that illustrate that point. Right? Now, when you stabilize the economy, when you allow the economy to function properly, it means that you're able to raise revenue. When you raise revenue, you're able to redeploy revenue raised to sectors that need it. And that's what the president has done. For example, all of these new market buildings we're constructing around the country, they're coming from government money. These are monies that have been now raised. That's why we're able to take our mothers out of the day. There. How does it improve their livelihood? Sitting in a Gbala in that mud across the road, that's why we have diseases. People going to hospital every day. When we take them and we put them in a building where they can now use indoor plumbing, you're saving them from the cost of going to the hospital. When you provide loans to them, you allow them to expand their business and make more income. That's how we do it. For example, at the University of Liberia, we've increased salaries of instructors. How do you increase salary? Because we raise revenue. When you increase salary, you give people more disposable income, meaning there's more money they can now spend because they make more money. And that's how we improve livelihood. All right? When you do the same thing, we increase the salary of healthcare workers. It's not at the place we want it to be, but it has dramatically changed from what it was, right? So now, when you raise that kind of money, it goes back into the pockets of people. When you build hospitals there, you go into the people's livelihood. When you provide loans, you're taking care of livelihood. That's how we're changing this country. Another way we're changing this country, for example, when the president decided and made the University of Liberia to be tuition free, and people made all of those caustic and sarcastic comments about it, they didn't know. Do you know that there are a lot of our brothers who are now pimping, or as we call them, motorcycle riders, who are out of high school, but for lack of an opportunity, when they weigh the opportunity cost, do I leave high school and go to UL and pay money, or do I go and do my pimping and earn money, right? The opportunity cost for them is too high. They can't choose, so they decide to be pimping riders. By making UL tuition free, we have given them a pathway to go to school and not lose income in the process of going to school. And when they go to school, they get an education. It makes them more competitive to make more income in the future. That's how we are addressing bread and butter issues. But they will not tell you these things. When they raise one thing about health, and we tell them we've done more for health in 5-6 years than you've done in 12 years, then they jump on the other side, bring the economy. And we tell them we stabilize the economy. Then they jump elsewhere, they say bring education. And we say, look at what we've done for education. And then let's go on. In every facet of this state, we've beaten them in 5 years over what they've done in 12 years.
So let's go to Mount Musu, somewhere deep in Grand Cape Makani, where you have her there as your citizen, a very important citizen, but she's only she's feeding only on farming. How is your road network also impacting her lives in where she is, deep into Grand Cape, where she's doing farming?
President, we're in the 2 ways to respond to that question. The first is to talk about, and again, that's why I like the idea this morning that you have somebody from the Ministry of Transport. And these are the things that people need to hear about the way we practice policy in this government with an empathetic heart to our people. It's not just about taking money, but it's about creating a space where people can realize that the government is not out to get you. The government is here under President Weah to serve you. The Ministry of Agriculture has done a lot in terms of providing support to smallholder farmers under the Retrap project and many other projects supported by the World Bank. We've given seedlings out to farmers. We provided training and helped them become mechanized for smallholder farmers, and we provided fertilizers to farmers. And these things are ongoing as we speak. But you will not hear them talk about these things. Road construction, the road debate is over. They thought they could create confusion around roads so that they make it seem as if there's no roads in this country. Or, brother, we have not built more roads. We inherited 745 kilometers of road in this country. We've expanded to around 1,300 kilometers as we speak. And we are still constructing roads as we speak. It tells you that there is political will for development. When President came to leadership in this country, ArcelorMittal had a CSR component in the agreement that mandated them to build the Cllr Road. That was all in 2013.
Mhm.
No one built it. It's been languishing there. It took this president to come for that road to be built in Nimba. You think the Nimba people don't know? But they operate on this whole blueprintism. We had a blueprint.
How much have you done? I asked you, Mr. Campaign Spokesman. I did ask you about and drew as an analogy about man moves you deep into ground crew, Cape McCarthy. You consider her as your very key citizen, but she's feeding only on agriculture. How much interventions have you made in the aspect of farm to market roads?
Multiple interventions, and most of these roads we're building, they include of farm to market roads. Even the agriculture interventions we talk about, the seedlings we provide to them, the fertilizers we provide to them, are designed to improve production in agriculture. It is happening. Matter of fact, look, we'll make allocations to have subject matter experts come and share some of these findings with you.
Okay.
And I've told you that's why they invested in, so that people don't get the information. But we're going to make sure by the time we arrive at October, look, yes, for lack of a better word, Honorable Len Eugene Amwe said the other day, we just say campaigning, but we are basically reminding the Liberian people of what we have done, clarifying the lies in terms of things that people lie that we did, and giving people the truth. And at the end of the day, look, these elections have made it clear. These elections, in every place we had the opportunity to discuss, will not be run on propaganda. We will ensure, we will constrain them to have a developmental debate. We will say, you were in power for 12 years. What did you do? Document it. Put it down. We have been here a little over 5 years. We will articulate what we have also done. Let the Liberian people do a comparison of what you did in 12 years against what we've done in 5 years. And I can tell you, Sorbor, on agriculture, on road construction, on education, on infrastructure, in every women empowerment and everything, we've outclassed them at all levels. There is no conversation around that. And that's why young people are coming to the president, especially first-time voters. The first-time voter in the country is almost around 20% of the voting population. They haven't had political allegiance, like the people who are CDC and UP. But who are they coming to? Look at Monserrato, the multiplicity of auxiliaries you find that support the president in re-election. Some are not CDCs. They are independent groups of young people who are forming themselves. Some of them have never joined a political party before. And the same thing is happening all across this country. In Nimba as well. The auxiliaries, the first-time voters there, they're growing all. They are not partisans. They are not entrenched in political belief like us or their parents. But these people see what President Weah has done. No president has touched first-time voters directly by their policy in this country as compared to President Weah.
You're listening to the Super Morning Show right here on your BC 99.9 and also focuses across Liberia. Our studio guest is the campaign spokesman of the ruling coalition, Councillor Kanio Gbala. Now, let's talk about the issue of integrity, Mr. Campaign spokesmanager. Campaign spokesperson, let me put it that way.
Yeah, please.
You got a couple of I don't want for you to take it serious. You got a couple of institutions.
Please, my boss been listening.
I know. You got the integrity institutions. You got the GAC, the LACC, the IAA, and the FIA, and you named them. How much interventions you were able to make as a government to strengthening those institutions so that people don't see you as an institution, as a government that countenance corruption?
Thank you very much. And they won't tell you again because they deal on the sound bites instead of the actuals of what has been achieved. Institutionally, this government has done a lot for the integrity sector. Take the GSC, for example. As you know, leadership is key in every institution. Look at the current crop of leaders, young leaders that President Weah has brought to the GSC. These are experienced private sector professionals who've been in their discipline, working privately for many years, starting with the Auditor General and his 2 Deputy Auditor Generals. These are all young men who have built enviable CVs in the private sector before coming to government. Now, being at the GSC, what have they done? They have restructured that place in a way that the reports coming out from the GSC carry more financial weight or evidential weight than they used to before. Don't say, Kanio, go ask the GSC. The record is there. It is far different than what it was before because of leadership, current leadership. Who ensured that leadership? The president. Reports from the GSC now carry more weight, and I challenge anybody to show otherwise. The IAA, the same thing. We've institutionalized and operationalized internal audit departments in all government institutions and made them functional. We've ensured new leadership.
What's the rationale for that?
The rationale is that, look, you want to fight corruption. You want to promote integrity in public sector. It's a two-way street. There is the reactive way to address it, which ultimately is about prosecutions, right? But there's also a proactive way, is to ensure that systems and controls are in place that make it difficult to overstep the boundaries. And those are the things that we invested in. That's why we have internal audit agencies that are now operational and functional in all government entities.
Okay.
Leadership at the IAA, very young, vibrant leadership. People who made their bones in the private sector. That person, we are young men and women. He took them there and said, look, there's not a party issue. We find competent people, we deploy them. We did that with the IAA. The LACC. When the LACC, in the past years, if you look at the OAC, and that's why a lot could not be done at the LACC. Because even in terms of prosecution, there was no independent prosecution power at the LACC. It is this government that made that happen with the new LACC Act of 2022. That act not only provides prosecution powers now, independent prosecution power to the LACC, it also provides oversight for assets declaration at the LACC. It also provides the fact that hosting of asset declaration now are all at the LACC instead of in disparate areas. It provides that people who are now going to the LACC are competitively recruited, involving a multiplicity of sectors to include civil society as well. So we have done more for the integrity sector. I don't even know talk about PPCC. That process at PPCC now is being mechanized and digitized before in terms of public procurement. It did not exist before. So what are people talking about when they say, what have you done? President Weah is building institutions. And he's doing so with capable manpower.
So you are saying to us that in the period of 5 years, you've done enough in fighting graft as compared to the previous administration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you look at it, let me tell you something. If you set out on a plan to achieve a goal, you need a vehicle to achieve that goal. You need a team to achieve that goal. And that's why some of us, we made it clear. We said, look, President Weah may be at the top of the ticket, therefore he's running for re-election. But every public official politically appointed is also up for re-election. Because it is this team that President Weah has crafted and put together in charge of a responsibility to deliver in all sectors where they are. It is that team that brings the delivery. And if you look at how those teams are delivering, and if we continue to talk about the gains under GSC, look, I challenge you, Sorbor. Get somebody from GSC to sit here and talk about what has changed. Or IAA, what has changed. And all of it. It's just that we who sit in a political seat and are clear that the things that President Weah has done will not be diverted by lies and propaganda. We take more interest in finding the information. But that information is readily available. And every day, let them put down what they have done. We will put down what we have done. And there can be no comparison.
Let me ask you, before we come to the other area, we heard about and we saw during the 5 years of His Excellency, the construction of poor housing.
Thank you.
What was the rationale that, the president thought it was quite necessary to construct those sort of houses for our people?
Well, firstly, for you to even begin to talk about, we'll come to construction of housing. But let's talk about the concept of pro-poor. As you know, when the president took over, he came up with his macroeconomic plan. Of course, under the auspices of Honorable Samuel Weah, who heads the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. But that pro-poor plan for prosperity and development, key word being pro-poor. And that's why people are angry. A lot of powerful people are angry in this country, and they're doing all of this propaganda. Because the policies of this president is mostly directed to poor people.
Okay.
When you are pro-poor, you are for the poor. That's what the whole idea is about. Pro-poor is like, I am for the poor. And that's the policies he had. When you marry Propo with the construction of housing, we're not building houses for people who can afford or people who, have some level of income at a certain level. No. And that's why they will dismiss it. It doesn't mean anything to them. When we build a block of houses in Nimba County, Propo housing, and people for the first time since 1847, as we say in Liberia, indoor plumbing, got flush toilet inside. This is monumental for these people. It's groundbreaking for these people. But they don't want you to talk about that. That's the idea of Propo, because it's not they that are benefiting from these things. We did the same in Nimba. We did in Grand Judah. We did also within the Western region. And I've been talking to Liz. Very soon, we'll have a full listing of projects, impact, location, cost, and beneficiaries. And we'll share that with the Liberian people, from Propo housing to market halls to hospitals that were constructed under this government. Even in the health sector, in this country, the very first dialysis machine that can treat kidney since 1847 kidney infection. You never had a dialysis center here in this country. It's when we are
people have to be flown abroad.
Exactly. It is under this government that we have it at JFK. People dying from oxygen. We were importing oxygen. Do you know that we now have 2 operational oxygen plants in this country? Never happened before. Happened under President Weah. Yeah, we're talking about health. We've increased the health workforce from around 4,000 to around 7,000. That's an increase of about 50% in health workforce, meaning we recruited nurses, recruited doctors, recruited physician assistants. We've increased that salary. Is it the best? No. Sometimes when you hear people arguing that, the payment of salaries is a struggle, it's because we are increasing more people, education, more than 3,000 new teachers on the payroll being paid by this government. And then people want to talk about what has been achieved. So our policies have been pro-poor.
Okay. Pro-poor. Let's look at youth development on your pro-poor policy. We heard about the start of a program aimed at rehabilitating the young people who are today being referred, some of them being referred to as drug addicts and at-risk youth. Before then, that program was not in place some 12 years back, before you came into being. Now, what is it that the president has put? Why has he put a premium on trying to rehabilitate the young people?
Look, this president, and that is why he is so different. That is why he is so relatable. That is why people love him. But he's made it even worse because of his policies. More people are falling in love with this president by the day. And because we are telling the story of success over the last.
How are you calculating that?
I see it every day. I know the amount of young people that are forming their own auxiliaries. Look, I kid you not, Sorbor. We can't wait for this process to really, really jumpstart. Honorable Nangbe has said, look, we are going to massively reach out to a lot of people, undecideds all across this country, first-time voters all across this country. We'll build networks. And we haven't taken off the ground absolutely yet. But he said to me, look, Kanio, you need to start a process of communicating the information to our people very robustly now, so that we can have entrenchment of that information. And because of that, how do I know? On my Facebook page, every day I get, I don't want to say hundreds of messages. How can we join? How can we be a part? I'm on the old road. I got 50 persons. They will let you people to come there and talk to us, speak with us. We got some people, we want t-shirt, we want caps, we want to come out, we want canvas, we want support. Everywhere people reaching out. And once this process takes off, we're going to leave no stone unturned in reaching to every group of people that require our attention. That's how we know that there is an interest in this president, because of his policies. Come on, Raya Oro, go there. Just to upgrade living style. Since 1847. Right? I remember somebody was telling me, say, in Chukba, somebody used to say that the people have wished that one Kota can reach down to Chukba. Can you believe that? Today, President Weah has made sure that whatever wish they had, that the development in the country was bigger than that wish. Because there's a road there today as we speak. So he's upgraded the conditions, even right here in Monrovia, in this city as we speak. People know this. And that's why we are running on his record.
Okay. running on his records. We'll be taking calls very shortly. But before then, the campaign team headed by Eugene Angbe, and you being the spokesperson of the campaign team, has decided to give His Excellency a one-round victory. Now, how possible is that? What are you looking at? How do you convince us when you have political leaders, including Ambassador Joseph Boy, who've been in public service for over 40 years, well experienced, and in fact served as vice president for 12 unbroken years. You also have Alexander Cummings also, who's been in private lives and now coming to politics. How sure are we that you're going to give His Excellency one-round victory, you and your campaign manager?
Thank you very much. You raised a previous point. I will end on that point, and then I will come to the question of why we are super confident that this will be a one-round affair. This is not farce or propaganda. We've looked at the numbers, and we know we can more than do it in the first round. I will tell you why. Evidence-wise, not just on flimsy thinking. You asked a question about the drug situation. Just about a month ago, it was President Weah who signed the new drug law in this country. Since 1847.
That has not happened.
That never happened. Look, if I did a list of the things that happened for the first time in this country under President Weah, I would just call that list first times interventions. Since this country was formed in 47. I can do 2 pages of that. It was President Weah.
On Wednesday, 176 years.
Yes, 176 years. But these things are happening under President Weah. That drug law seeks to make it more difficult for those who peddle drugs to our young people. So it's difficult for them to get away scot-free. That's what President Weah has done. More than that, when you tackle drug abuse, you tackle the causal factors. You don't just run around and say, drug abuse, let's fight drug abuse. No. You got to understand why young people are falling into drug abuse. In this country, there was this whole practice of Super Fridays. Kids leave from school, they have nowhere to go to recreate. So where do they go? They go to the abandoned beaches, they sit there, they smoke marijuana, they take other harmful drugs, and they think that they're socializing. But the reason they're doing these things is because they have nowhere to go. In other developed countries, which all of these political leaders you mentioned, who've been around for 40 years, who led Fortune 500 companies, they've seen all these things. In their over 40 years plus of public service that they tout, that is the basis for which we elect them. What did they ever do for this country in that regard? It took President Weah to say that an invisible park can be an opportunity for young people to recreate holistically outside of drugs. They can play football, they can play volleyball, they can play basketball. There's a pool for smaller kids. He did it. When he started, people raised all kinds of issues. He dedicated Cllr Town the other day again. That's a slum community. That place been there since 1847. Playing in the mud. But it took him to transform that place into a site of recreation, a park that poor people will have access to. Very soon, PHP will be coming on stream. Again, in the heart of Central Monrovia, where we have this whole idea of this Zogo issue, but he will be attracting another segment of the youth population and giving them an opportunity to find holistic recreation here in Monserrado County. So when you take that, who has done more for youth development and attack the drug problem than this president? Show me any one of them. None of them have done these things before. But these development will be President Weah's legacy.
So how sure are we? How sure are we?
Now that brings
that's a question.
How sure are we? You talk about the 40-year experience people. We'll come to them later. How sure are we? Firstly, CDC, the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change, as a political party, is already the biggest political party in the country. We have a steady base of partisans that are now very energized to re-elect President Weah. We're not talking about CDC because it's parking there waiting to deliver. Then I don't even talk about the second folks because we're not concerned about those political people. We put them down. The group of undecideds. You know who constitute those undecideds? The first-time voters. The youths that are now coming into the voting population. The early universitarians who are now going into university. These are the people who, for the last 6 years, President Weah has spent 20 million paying their waxy fees. Those people and their poor parents are aware that no other president has done it for them before. These are the people who will deliver. That 30% of undecideds plus our base is more than 60%. We just need 50% plus one. That's all we need. We got 60%.
And you see you achieve it.
Absolutely, we're going to achieve it. Right here in Monserrado, look. That's why I listen to somebody.
Achieve it when Borka is in the race, when Kanio is in the race.
Quite respectfully to Omen Borka, but he is not a challenger. I don't see it as that. Look, when you look at this new base of people who are voting, you don't see any gravitation of Borka. It is President Weah that these people know by his policies. He has touched them. And even if they don't know President Weah, let's ask what is Borka's history of service in terms of...
He got 42 years to his credit.
Yeah, let me just take off 5 from there. So we can match up around 5 too, right?
He serves as former vice president for 12 years.
We waive the other 37. Give us 5. Since we got about 5, let's compare those 5. Take any 5 out of the 42 years. Point out what you have done for young people. We'll point out what this president has done for young people. There will be no comparison. There is no comparison. Because as for Cummings, I like the guy. So, sharp guy, excelled in the corporate world, but he has no experience in this country. He has no political developmental CV in this country. What is Cummings' involvement with Liberia? Aside from the side he declared that he wanted to be president. I mean, it's his right, and I have nothing against him. He's a smart guy, and I was just sorry for him that, Unity Party and Joseph Boyka decided to take him to court to give him a criminal record by saying he forged documents, all those kinds of things. Because it also shows that, he doesn't know the terrain, so he got in bed with people who pretty much try to dupe him and dump him, right? So, but if we coming back to the issue, because I digress, right? If we come to look at that CV, Sorbor, when did you start to hear about Alexander Cummings and politics in this country? People think the Liberian people.
You say that he's little known?
Well, those are your words, but I would say he's not that known. If people don't know him. Somebody was laughing the other day. There was a rally they had, and they had a few people on the field, and people kept asking, but when the men come in, and the men there for the last 15 minutes.
Okay, so before I open the last, let me ask you this question. Mr. Campaign spokesperson, just quite recently, one of your officials in your government was then the managing director at the Housing Authority, Cecilia Coffee Brown, resigned and sought to, go as running mate to run Frank Morris. The both of them decided to go independent. Do you see that? Maybe a troubling sign for, especially, an insider was there before, an insider who knew President Weah. In fact, she claimed that she used to go to pray for the president. She's a bishop now, but she resigned now, cross carpet and over to somebody else.
Look, I wish I have what I could say personally as Kanio Gbala. I will characterize such conduct. But I won't speak in my own voice. I will borrow from what the president said yesterday at the Philadelphia church. Yesterday we had the service as part of the Independent Day celebration process. So President Weah, after the service, or at the close of the service, was invited by Bishop Harris to make a few remarks. And I particularly noticed any things he said. And I'll talk about them. I think they so apply to this conduct by Madam Coffee Brown, I believe, right? That is the individual who served as head of housing authority. Almost 4 years and now resigned, wants to run. This is what he said. He said, look, first thing he said, when I was in opposition, I prayed for the leadership of this country. That's what President Weah said. He said, I prayed for them. When they had programs and they invited me, I attended those programs. I conferred with President Salif. When we were seated and she sought to ask me a question, I would bend over and listen to her photographers will take my picture and seek to ascribe certain kinds of things to those pictures because like I'm in bed with the government. He said, even people from my party said, why are you doing this? Right? But because he said he felt that. This is about leadership. And people in leadership, they deserve to be prayed for. When we're having programs now, some of these people are invited, they don't show up. But they want to lead a national process like independence. And you want to lead this country eventually, and you are invited, and you don't show up. You know how many ordinary Liberians want the opportunity to be invited to such programs, but they can't go, but we invite you, and you don't go? More than that, this is what he also said. And for me, that stuck with me. I didn't know President Weah, could really preach like that. He said, look, he made a point about miracles and obstacles. I don't know how he worded it, but I'll find it. He said, when you want miracles, there have to be obstacles. And I think that's how I would characterize this Coffee Brown situation. It's a very minor obstacle, but it says a lot. I've said to people, and that's why you see, even before my designation as campaign spokesman, and Honorable Namba said to me, hit the ground running. We have already started with the Weah intellectual movement and started to communicate the gains. Because I felt that you cannot be in government, have enjoyed the privilege of public service, have received that green letter from President Weah all these years, and you've been there, you've seen what has happened, and you can communicate it. To depart government now and run is to say, I disagree with everything that has happened while I was there. Because there's a policy difference, and you're a political appointee. So why did you resign ever since 2 years ago? But you're resigning now at the tail end of the administration because you claim that you have a better agenda. When you are appointed to head a government agency, we expect you to deliver. Can we ask her, as head of NHA, what did she do for housing? And that is the challenge.
Are you insinuating that she didn't do anything that
I don't have the data, but I'm assuming that if she's leaving to run, that she disagrees with our policy. But she was the key policy maker. She headed housing. We are building proper housing. What did she do for that? You should ask her. I think you should invite her here and ask her. What did she achieve? I mean, if I were a journalist and she's running,
he was here sometime last week.
In your we should have asked her, like, okay, you won't be president now, but you are head of housing. What did you do for housing? Right? So that's how I will respond to that question, Sorbor.
Okay. So let me try to open the lines because the lines have been blinking quickly. Let me open the lines. Good morning.
Sorbor,
good morning. Yes, sir.
This is Pascal Davis from District 6. The team here to see Mr. Gbala, honestly. Somebody again, I think he needs more time. Every time he comes to studio, my date is named Mr. Gbala. I want to say thank you. But some of this is the issue, right? We will be campaigning on the issues. I always said men are measured by what they do and what they say, not what they say. The president to campaign, that's said our candidate. Yeah, yesterday, Mr. President was in quarantine. When I say yesterday, on Saturday, for example, the dedicated sport pass there. Are you saying those in quarantine winning for president? We have come to think about it. You listen to Mr. Gbala where you said the president had a donations in him account. What I said for? I think Mano, for example. Are you saying I'm going to go against Mr. Weah for donating buses for our...
Wow, he's off the line. Let's take this caller quickly. Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, was a call from rehab resident. I let them in my info. We have a very huge authority with eviction of material where our president used to reside. And then we don't have anyone to support us. So we get every program we're
oh, what?
On the 17th, the program we have at our national headquarters. So I wish we could be or help to us by the national authority.
Okay, I'm sure he's taking notes now. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Let's hear from you quickly.
Yeah, so what I want to see is local past government, and which was when President Weah in 2018, he graded the past government is 100%. So
Hello? Okay, this guy is on the line. Let's get our caller. Yeah, good. Hello. Yeah, this BC quickly. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Nathaniel calling you from Prez District, local county.
Just go ahead.
We want to appreciate the government and the procedure in the system.
Okay.
But looking at it, their statement and the record and what they are saying, there are some they are true and some they are not true. And wholly and surely, for all in Weah District, 99% is for Honorable Joseph Nimabake. Voting for him come October 10th. We voting for Honorable Bakai.
Okay, thank you very much. You made your point. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Okay, I'm Monima Jobo. I'm calling from Kanio Supermarket.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to appreciate Kanio Babaya, one of the young men in the CDC government that I highly admire. But my concern here is that even though we are going to election, but I would like for the government to a little bit focus on the remaining month to perform so that within that 3 months, there are some old retired voters that may likely decide to go, but I don't want to really focus their mind on the campaign for now.
Okay, so what sort of performance? Hello. What sort of performance you making reference to now?
Let's take, for example, if we come to the Banaville Junction here, there's a very deplorable area. And you know, people who want to vote for the government, if they see those things, they see as lapses. And even you look at some part of the city, the same mayor is only behind the president going to present. Then he come out. Then they begin to do something that will, I know, will impress those that have not decided.
Okay, you made your point. Good morning. Good morning. Hello? Oh, we can continue with this caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sorbor.
Yes, sir.
And good morning to your studio guys. This is Mr. Ojuku. Oboswa. Ojuku.
You gotta be fast now.
I join you from Kingsville. Let me use this medium to extend my thanks and appreciation to ideological Kanio Gbala. I think he made it clear that this president will win a victory. Look, Sorbor, the opposition guys, they have nothing to propagate and present to the Liberian people. All they are doing is false allegation against the government and false preaching against the government, in which you cannot win the minds of Liberians on the basis of that. If you want to win the minds of the Liberian people, it should be on the basis of developmental agenda. Because Liberia, since 1847, in our civil crisis in this country, Liberia, look, our infrastructure development is deplorable. All of the sectors have been deplorable.
Okay, you made your point already. Let's take this other caller. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, let's hear from you.
Yeah, is this BC?
Yeah, this is BC. Go over there quickly.
Yeah, okay. I want to tell you, this is Mohammed. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
We want to tell the studio guest thank you very much for his extended performance. But how do we get to there? Because we have other groups in here that want to give their support and vote for Mr. Weah.
Okay.
How do we get to them?
Okay.
Let them give us numbers contact that we can get to them so they can reach to us. Because they have some area involved. They have not reached there.
Okay. So he's taking notes. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Okay, thank you. I want to congratulate Kanio Gbala for a preferment as campaign spokesman for the re-election of President Weah. Okay, my point here is that people say we will pay on the 17th to go appreciate the president. I want to say yes, we will pay to go appreciate the president because of the election setting in Liberia that we are experiencing. Yes, we will pay. The market women will pay that they build a lot of markets for the government have built. We will pay for all the road connectivity. The first time voter was paid because of the free water fee. we will also pay that we are attending University of Liberia free. So there are so many things we are paid off for. So we want to appreciate the president for making the campaign very easy for us.
Okay. Many thanks. We'll take on 2 more calls and wrap it up. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Sorbor. How are you?
I'm okay, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Gbala. Welcome from Kim FM. Welcome to CDC. I can listen to the Lord show. So thank you for the program. But I want to be the part of the captain, the only uneducated man, the only very poor, the people that don't know nothing, the Weah. I want to be part of the captain. Weah must tell you history that uneducated people is part of the captain. We listen to people who will be challenging Weah. Yeah, you challenge Weah with 40 years, and Weah will challenge you with 5 years. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. Let me take this last caller. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sorbor.
Yes, good morning, sir.
My name is Mr. S.K. Singh. I'm a executive member of the National Patriotic Party Youth Council. I call on day number 12. You know, let me say thanks to the Leonard Councilor. He actually spoke well. I mean, he would have spoken better than he did. You know, he said everything already because the president is a magnanimous leader and the working in the country will give you another 6 years. And I want to say this. Councilor Kanio, we are with you in this. We will stay with you. We'll go to the trenches wherever that we are not ready for. We'll reach out to ensure that we are re-elected. The re-election message is making sense, and we are committed to that struggle because it is the struggle of the masses, and committed we shall remain. Thank you.
Many thanks, many thanks. We can take additional calls, please. The lines are still blinking. But let me go back to Mr. Guest to respond to some of the concerns, please.
Thank you, Sorbor. And let me start by saying thank you to all of those who called, particularly very supportive calls. We take particular note of those inquiring how they can engage. As a matter of fact, Honorable Len Eugene Nangbe has hit the ground running in terms of engaging with multiple stakeholders. I was with him on Sunday morning when we were meeting with the Bong for Weah leadership, a group of eminent sons and daughters from Bong that are leading the charge of President Weah in the county. And they had come to him and they were already laying down some of the plans they had, some of the things they had embarked upon, and how they could find alignment with the national campaign. Okay. And these are things they're doing on their own, with their own financial resources, but they wanted to have that. I was also there, and the Bassa for Weah also met him as well, articulated some of the things they had done and where they intend to go. He met with the Women's League of the Mighty Coalition for Democratic Change. He has showed them that this campaign will have space for all of them and adequate support as well. So what I'm saying to all of those that are called is that a process is unfolding, and very soon you will be hearing from the campaign team and the party regarding a broad-based process of how everyone can be subsumed into that. So people should rest assured. It's just that now we got to continue to ensure that messaging is key. I'll close by saying this. I know we're out of time already, Sorbor, but please, we hope and we can talk to the administration to ensure that this Monday morning, early Monday morning, 1 hour, let's have it here. I know you will still broadcaster. We'll pay for our 1 hour. So people don't think you're giving us preference. It's not preference. We'll pay for it. We arrange it. And so that every Monday morning, 1 hour, we have the opportunity to be here. President Weah will win on his records.
So your focus is to give President Weah one round victory.
Or one round victory.
And that will certainly happen.
It will happen. We're going to win Monserrato by the biggest number ever.
Many thanks, Councillor Kanio Gbala. Many thanks. And again, congratulations for your preferment.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Well, they just have go home on this presentation of this Super Money Show. Thanks to my indie Friday cable, my illustrious and hardworking producer, the man Melvin Stewart. Damara has been behind the camera. Join us at tomorrow morning, golf winning. We'll be back on the SMS. There's no second chance for first impression. So,